be curious about everything. Now, I once had a 30-minute conversation with Enver Yücel about the height of curbs here in Washington, D.C. Now, it sounds crazy, right, to have a conversation about the height of curbs, but he was fascinated by the fact that the curbs being so high here in D.C. versus the curb height in other countries. And it just so happens that the more civilized the nation is, the higher the curbs are going to be. This is something that I never would have known without having that conversation. But the point is that he was curious enough to recognize and then want to explore a conversation about curb height. Billionaires are extraordinarily curious. Even Oprah Winfrey, think about it. She made popular the intimate talk show. The intimate talk show. In other words, she's known as one of the best interviewers of all time, which means that she's extraordinarily curious because she was able to extract all that information from people. The habit of curiosity is key. And I really want to drive home a very important point. You know, we think about the most successful people in the world and we always think that they're the most intelligent, right? They're the smartest people in the world. But that's not the truth. You see, all of us have three very important factors in our life, or what are called quotients, right? There's what's called your IQ. That's your intellectual quotient. That's essentially our ability to be smart. Yes, that's important, but that's not the most important. We also have our EQ, that's our emotional quotient. That's our ability to control our emotions. That's where all those soft skills come from. And then last but not least, we have our CQ. That is our curiosity quotient. That is our capacity to be curious. Now, I really want to drive home an important point that's really important to me. You know, when I was in middle school trying to go to high school, I remember taking an IQ test to try to test into one of these magnet schools. And I thought I was going to get in. Everyone thought Paul was going to get into this magnet school. You know, I had great grades. I take the test and I found out that I didn't have a high enough IQ to get into this school. Now, immediately, because I didn't have a high enough IQ, people around me started thinking, oh, you know what? So that means that maybe Paul isn't as smart as we thought he was. In other words, maybe he won't be as successful as we thought he would be. IQ has very little to do with how successful you will be. And billionaires prove this time and time again. And I'm not saying it's because they're not smart, but what they do have is they have high EQ, emotional quotient, and they have high CQ, curiosity quotient. Now, EQ, those are your soft skills. Those are things that I've actually spent my entire career trying to master. Soft skills are very important, but when it comes to curiosity, I believe that your CQ, your curiosity quotient, is even more important than your IQ. It's even more important than how smart you are. You see, your CQ controls everything in your life. Your curiosity is really about your hunger.
Please, sir, I want some more.
What? What? Ask for more?
Your hunger to want to know more. Your hunger to want to understand more. And the reason why that's so important is because most of this world is not black or white. It's gray, right? Most of this world is in the gray. And the people who are the most curious are the people who can live in the gray. They can live in ambiguity. This is very important in terms of being successful in many aspects of life. The other reason why having a high CQ, having high curiosity is so important is because when you have that hunger, you continually learn more and more and more over time. So what that means is that if you have a high level of curiosity over the course of your entire life, you will have gained more knowledge and perhaps more experience than people that are high in other categories. So having a very high curiosity is critical to your high level of success. Now, how do these billionaires, how did Oprah and Enver acquire these skills around being very curious? I think there were two things that they focused on throughout their entire career. One is that you'll notice with Oprah Winfrey in particular in her interviews, but Enver Yücel does this as well, is that they're always asking a follow-up question. And the follow-up question is that they have become very familiar with the words how, when, why, where, what, how much.
What was it like for you to have her walk into the room?
Overwhelming.
These are very important words. they follow up with every question with the why. Think about that. Anytime someone says something to you, if you're curious to know the backdrop to that, if you're curious to know more, you say why, how, when, where, how much.
May I help you, sir?
How much for an order of ribs?
$2.50.
$2.50? How many ribs do I get with that?
About 5.
5? So I guess that's about 50 cents a rib, huh?
Yeah, about.
Now, simply asking that question gives you more information. And then the second part of developing that habit of being curious is to then listen.
Let me get one.
Right on. One order. One order ribs.
No. 1 rib.
1 rib.
I sure am hungry.
Make that 1 rib to go.
1 rib?
1 rib.
Now there's a difference between hearing and listening. Most of us just hear. That's information going in. But listening is information going in and then analytically thinking about that information, right? How does it apply to you? How does it apply to the situation? Is there a follow-up question that I need to give, right? That's being analytical with the information and then letting it register, then letting it sit in. That's listening. So if you want to develop your curiosity, always follow up questions with how, when, why, where, what, right? You follow up with questions. You let your curiosity lead you in every question. And then secondly, is that you listen. And you listen to everything. You know, billionaires, they listen to every subject, not just one particular subject matter. And because they have information coming in from many different subjects, many different areas, you think about Albert Einstein. One of his famous quotes is that, I have no particular skills, but I'm passionately curious. Ultimately, at the end of the day, billionaires are curious. And the reason why they're so successful is that what the rest of the world thinks is mundane or overcomplicated, they are curious about and they go to work on it.